So today you are going to be starting your oil pastel sampler exercise, and it will require you to create 5 different shapes. So you all were given a large sheet of manila paper. It's called manila paper, and I have you guys fold it hamburger style. And on the front side, you are going to create your 5 different shapes. So it doesn't matter where you label each one, just as long as all of these are labeled according to the assignment. And you can start this with pencil, or you can jump right in with Sharpie. I choose to do Sharpie just because I'm not too concerned. Just make sure that your shapes are not too small or not too big. You can see these shapes are a little bit larger, where the shapes from my demo are a little bit smaller. Doesn't matter, I just don't want you doing them huge. You don't need them to be huge, you just need them to be a decent size in order to practice these next little bits. I like to do curvy shapes. It's totally up to you how you want to decide on how you go about your shapes. I like little blobs. It reminds me of that one movie, and I'm blanking on it. The one with the green slime. I don't know. You're not here to remind me, but I'm going to make these shapes for you anyway. So they can be all different shapes, all different sizes, and they can be like a little oval. They could look like little jelly beans. And as you can see, these lines are significantly skinnier than these ones. We want to go in with line weight. And it doesn't have to be anything fancy. I use the side of my Sharpie. Do not try to use the tip of your Sharpie to create line weight. Just kind of hold your Sharpie slightly different. This will save your Sharpie to be nice and neat, to be able to use it for the rest of the projects. And I'm gonna come in here, make some of these thicker as they curve. Does help sometimes to turn your paper. The reason I'm also making these thicker is so that as I'm working with oil pastels, I can make sure my edges are nice and neat, nice and clean, because yes, oil pastel does tend to be a little bit messy, and your edges tend to be a little bit messy. So this can help you keep things a little bit cleaner and make your final sampler look a little bit nicer. So as I go through these, I'm gonna make this a little thicker. That one got a little too wide, but that's okay. It also helps you clean up any edges. So if you kind of goofed up on an edge or let your Sharpie flare out, you can clean that up nice and neat. So it doesn't have to be dramatic or anything. I just got attacked by a bug. Don't know where it is. So I just was attacked by a stink bug, so I figured I would finish up this video with a quick time lapse. To show you how to label everything. You can simply go through and label things. Number 1, I know the labeling is a little weird for this assignment. We're going to have A start over here, B over here, and then we'll do C and D. You can simply leave it like this and put your name in the bottom right-hand corner. Or you can come back in to make your life a little bit easier and label it according to what is going in that shape. So in the first shape is going to be a solid color. For the shape A, you are going to have warm colors. For shape B, you will have cool colors. Shape C, you will have light to dark. And then last, for shape D, you will have complementary colors. And then you are all set up to begin the next part. For the Art 1 Oil Pastel Sampler, you will be doing these next few steps, okay? You will be doing first, drawing 5 organic shapes. You're going to add line variation to each shape with a Sharpie marker. As you can see, I have started my shapes and I have already added the line variation with my Sharpie marker. Essentially what it is creating thicker lines that are going from thicker to thin to add some variation to these shapes so that you can have clean edges. Then in the first shape, you are going to label this one number 1. You're going to create an even layered colored shape. As you start filling in this flat shape, you're going to want to go in multiple directions, staying nice and clean, filling in all of those small paper bits before moving on into the next section. And then always remember to clean up your black edges. For part 2, you will be creating a transition. You will create a transition, at least 2 transitions with warm colors, and making sure that you mix these colors nice and smoothly. You're going to label this shape as A. As you can see in my example, I transitioned from orange to yellow, so that's 1 transition, and from orange to red, that's 2 transitions, utilizing 3 different colors. When transitioning between your warm colors, you're going to start it off like you were doing a feathering technique. The key to this exercise is to have smooth transitions, trying to almost minimize any look of mark making. You're going to want to definitely layer. Remember, pulling and transitioning with the lighter color will help. That way you don't get a ton of streaks. I shouldn't be able to see any major lines, and it should be nice and clean. For the third part, in your third shape, you are going to create 2 or more transitions with cool colors. So just like in shape A, you have to have a minimum of 2 transitions, which requires 3 different colors, which if you see over in here, my shape B has 3 different colors. It has a light blue, dark blue, and a violet, and it has 2 transitions, so 1 transition between the blue and the light blue, and another transition between the violet and the blue over here. Sorry, it's a little hard to see with my light. For mine, I'm going to be using green, light green, and blue. You're starting this just the same way as the warm colors. And the key with some of these colors is to really take your time, make sure to fill in all of the little paper bits and transition using those lighter colors. In this case, it would be the green. You want to really smooth out and get rid of any textured lines, which just means layering back and forth multiple times, switching between colors, and then cleaning up your edges. In part 4, you are going to create a transition going from light to dark using 1 color. So you will be making a transition from white to black with a color. As you can see in my example, I went from white to green to black. And there are many different combinations you will and can do. So you just need 1 hue, you need your white oil pastel and your black pastel. And the key is that I should be able to see a pure strip of color. I should be able to tell exactly what that color is. It should not be modified down the middle by the white or the black. I should have a pure edge of white, and I should have a pure edge of black with those 2 transitions happening. While you are doing this transition, it is key to make sure that your black doesn't overpower your color, and neither does your white. You want to have smooth transitions. Yes, it does make it muddy, and you will notice I do rip off some of the paper on my orange oil pastel because it gets a little too close to the paper. And then using that white to transition, keep things nice and clean, nice and smooth, and then clean up those edges. For the last part, and for shape 5, you are going to label it as shape D, and you will create a transition with a set of complementary colors. So your options are orange and blue, red and green, yellow and violet, and of course there are some variations to these. So this example is yellow and violet. You could also create a transition with orange and blue, or you could create a transition with orange and light blue. You could also do red and green, or red and light green, or even pink and green, or pink and light green. So any set of complementary color. The only difference between the pink and the green is the fact that they have white added to them. So they are still considered options, and even the light blue. They are all considered options for complementary colors, because it is just a lighter version of that color, because it is mixed with white. So you can swap any of these for the complement. So it would be, so your options are these two, or you could do any combination of two of these, of course, one red, one being green, and then either blues with an orange.
Complementary colors are the hardest to mix because they create a muddy, kind of brownish looking color. So make sure to go very slowly, do shorter strokes. Try not to get big chunks of the other color in the complements area. You really want to focus on not creating a line with your transition. So it might start that way, as you can see, but you will eventually create a smooth transition. It can be a short or a long transition. Now that you have watched all of this demo video, review the instructions, double check all of the details, and happy making and happy oil pastel blending.